My name is Gerard Walker, former player of the Charleston Battery. Started with the team back in '93 when at the inception, and stayed in Charleston since. Now currently teach and coach at James Allen Charter High School.
My name is Leland Archer. Grew up in Diego Martin area. Been in Charleston since 2018. Been with the Charleston Battery ever since. Currently still playing. Captain of the team right now.
So I'm, originally from Trinidad and Tobago, just like Leland is. I grew up in the east side of the island, so in Five Rivers, Aruca, Rima area, so the east zone. And came here, back in 1989 on a football scholarship. Just as a youth, seed got planted from some coaches that I had up at Holy Cross College and St. Augustine Senior Comprehensive, the Green Machine, as we know. We've gone down since I left, right?
I lost to them in a final, so.
Yeah, we spiral a little bit, but it's been a good ride here to get here, and then also to be planting more roots within the Charleston area.
It's been great. I've been here for a while. I've been loving it. I feel like there's a connection with Charleston and the Caribbean. I've played with so many Caribbean players here. It kind of feels similar to back home.
For me, the Caribbean culture is this kind of vibe, right? It's we're sitting in a restaurant right now. I mean, think about the food, the spice, right? A sort of cosmopolitan approach to all different races coming together, whether that be, Chinese, Syrian, East Indian, African descent, Portuguese.
My favorite foods kind of differ over the years. When I was living more in Trinidad, I'd probably say pilau. Pilau is my favorite meal, which is, a mixture of rice, peas, chicken, bunch of flavors just in together as one.
Always throughout my youth growing up. And maybe it's because of, again, the East Indian influence that I, had a good amount of them, of those, that race around me and in my neighborhood. So for me, it's always been curry. So roti, doubles. If you go to Trinidad and Tobago,
I can eat it
you
every day.
have doubles. It is a mainstay. So if anybody, frequent and visit Trinidad and Tobago, you must stop at that doubles place. Right?
So if anybody ever asks, Trinidad has the best food in the Caribbean.
Best food. If you're going to talk about Trinidad and Tobago footballers, you have Dwight York at the top of the list, right?
For sure.
Dwight York, most people, many people in Trinidad and Tobago are Man U fans because of Dwight York, right?
Definitely. You always had that vision of, a small child, grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, made it to the biggest stage in football.
Correct.
So you always had that ambition to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And he I'm sure not only me, but a lot of Trinidad and Tobago kids at the time looked up to him. I feel like I played with a lot of good players. I think the one that probably stood out in terms of him always pushing me, always wanting the best out of me was probably Atula Guerra, he was very good at his time. Played here, I think 2 years I played with him. He was always that kind of big brother figure to me when I was here, right out of college, not really knowing what to expect from the professional game. He kind of had that lending hand to me when I just started.
Me, myself, I played with some serious guys who made some major impacts. Jared Nixon was a striker that I played with, along with here, God Pollinaire, who was a old school baller back in the day and played for the Battery when we started about 2-3 years later. Was a national team player, went to the same high school as me in St. Augustine, talented individual who's now running the Atlanta Fire program in Atlanta, Georgia. So those are some of the names that come to my list.
Yeah, I'd probably say another player that I probably forgot to mention is probably Dennis Lawrence, who obviously scored an important goal in Trinidad to make the first ever World Cup.
Correct.
As a defender, you always see that. I'd say another name is probably Sheldon Bato, because we went to the same high school, Fatima College. He was a little older, probably leaving when I just came in, but he was also, now we're good friends. He talks to me a lot, motivates me about national team stuff. So, yeah. I think there's a lot of players you could look at and have done well for themselves and could always, get motivation from.
Yeah. When you talk about the fabric of Caribbean people stamping their mark, Ed Corey is one of those guys. Ed Corey has been a mainstay of Charleston football for decades. Won 17 or so state titles with Bishop England High School.
If I had to think of someone, I'd probably think Ralph Lundy, because I feel like I've met a lot of Caribbean people through him, whether recruiting or just know who he is in the community. He might be a little Trinidadian, but but I think he's probably up there with one of the more influential people in terms of the Caribbean community in Charleston. Ralph Lundy probably was the biggest reason why I'm here. He scouted me while I was at the U17 national team.
Yeah.
If I work hard and do the right things, I feel like a coach might look at another Trinidad player and say, we had Leland Archer here who was good. This guy can maybe be just as hardworking and just as good as Leland was. So I feel like there's a little pressure I put on myself, but I feel like it's been good so far, and it's a nice thing to be able to still, have that Caribbean heritage throughout this team that's been here for so long.
Yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, and you carry the mantle really well, because now you're talking about you're the captain of a really oldest franchise, from a football standpoint in the United States, and one that has bore fruit from years and years and years of truly planting good seeds from people from the Caribbean. And here you are at the top of the heap, being the captain for so many players from different cultures. It says a lot, right? I mean, it says a lot of what you're doing and what we've done over the years to ensure that opportunities continue to exist for Caribbean.
Lady passed down for me.
Yeah. No, so listen, you've done fantastic work as a player in the Battery. So Caribbean Heritage Month for me, when you talk about all the history behind the say the Magnolia plantations and all different plantations here in Charleston, South Carolina, you talk about the Gullah roots that exist here. For me, there's a sense of pride, to understand that, what Caribbean islands did, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, all of those different islands have now done so much work and so much investment, if you will, here in the United States and in Charleston. I feel like there's a reason why when I have left Charleston in the past, I feel like I've left home, right? Because Charleston just seems to have that Caribbean roots, like Leland talked about, saying, the beach, the vibe, etc. All kinds of good food. You can taste different flavors from the Caribbean here in so many different restaurants you go into. So for me, the Caribbean Heritage Month is a big month for us in Charleston, South Carolina.
Well, Gerard, I appreciate your time, coming and spending some time with us at Taste of the Islands to talk about the Caribbean culture, especially Trinidad culture. I feel like you have laid a lot of groundwork for players like myself, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, Leland, listen, it's been a fantastic experience being here with you today. And I just wish you all the best and continue doing what you're doing with the Battery and continue to represent the Caribbean in a big way.
I'll try my best.
Yes, my friend.